I'm hoping the project is good, but if it turns out to be a disaster, then I will make adjustments for the future. But
Just not for us.
yeah, just for you guys, you'll get the disaster version. But I'll make sure the grading is fair for you guys. Okay.
We should get buttons at the end of this class.
Hmm?
That we were the guinea pig class.
Yeah,
Or
definitely, you guys.
t-shirts.
Okay, it's a lot of money for me to shell out. So, okay. All right. So the way I have it set up is that the final project's worth 40% of your grade. I know that's a lot, and we'll see. The only I don't want to say bad thing, but as far as the project goes, is that the grading is a little bit more subjective than, say, a traditional exam where there's a right answer and a wrong answer, right? This is a little bit more like the STEM student's essay, right? Is kind of like a report, and so there's definitely a subjective grading component, and I'll do my best to be as fair in the grading. But basically, I've split it down into two parts. Okay, one is going to be a written technical report. That's what you guys will write, and then the other part is going to be the slide presentation and video. Okay, and the written part is aimed for a technical audience, and the slide presentation and video is aimed for a general audience. Okay, and it's kind of the purpose of in my mind, the purpose of the project is to make sure you can do the technical aspect, so that if you were to work for a company, your immediate boss, immediate supervisor who has technical knowledge, you will satisfy what they requested and their demands for your data analysis. Whereas I also want to make sure you can communicate your findings to someone who doesn't have the same technical knowledge, so to a general audience, so someone like upper management or whatever, who probably comes from a business background or some other, they're not going to be stats majors. I mean, you might have a stats major as your boss's boss and stuff, but most likely they're going to be kind of business and management types. And I want to make sure you can communicate there. Not that I'm like the expert and know exactly what goes through a business exec's mind, but in my little time working in industry, I feel like my boss and mentor, he gave me some good advice regarding what to include, not to include in some kind of report or presentation there. Okay, so the written report, this is aimed for the technical audience. That's going to be me, and the point breakdown. A large part is going to be content and description of the data, and then exploratory data analysis. That's the large bulk, 90 points, and then data modeling will be 60 points. Okay, so the content and description of the data, this will be someone who, to kind of get me or someone who's unfamiliar with the data to become familiar with the data. So you will need to talk about, this is from N. Haynes, and they gathered, this is who they surveyed, and this is how the data was gathered, and things like that. I guess part of my mind is like keeping in mind how DataFest worked, and so this portion is kind of like during the big meeting where they present the data video and they're trying to explain the particulars of the data and things like that. That's what I have in mind here. So this is to get somebody who's not familiar with the data familiar with the data. That's going to be this portion. That's going to be worth 50 points. That's a quarter of the technical report grade. Okay. And if there's any implications about how the data was collected and things like that, that should be included there. Okay, I don't know. Are there any questions on that part? Context and description of the data? Yes?
So is it purely just like writing a paragraph So to explain data.
Yeah, probably more than a paragraph. Okay, probably the variables. Like you'll probably want to write a little bit about each of the variables, and say like this variable is categorical or something, and in the data set it's coded as 1, 2, or 3, but it's not numeric, it's category, things like that. This variable is, I don't know, gender of the baby, and it only exists for people in our sample who were 24 months or less, okay? And then, this is age of the baby in months, and it exists only for those between 0 and 24. For everyone else, it's a missing value, and things like that, okay? So probably you'll want to describe it, at least all of the variables that you'll be exploring, okay? Obviously, if you're using NHANES or something, you're not going to explain like all 70 variables, okay? But if in your data analysis, if you're looking at 15 variables, you should explain those 15 variables that you're looking at, okay? So yeah, definitely more than a paragraph, okay? And then you have the exploratory analysis of the data, right? And this, these are the types of questions and things that we did in the midterm. In the midterm, they were all kind of exploratory data analysis type questions. And, I said, is there a relationship between, is there a difference between the weights of babies for boys and for girls between 0 and 12 months? And you would, summarize the baby boys' weights from 0 to 12 and the baby girls' weights from 0 to 12, and then you'd graph them and things like that, okay? And so this part, I expect to see a fair amount of exploration. Don't just ask one question and say, all right, here's my graph, the end. But it should be like you should be seeking things out. And not everything is going to be interesting, right? Like, at least in the midterm, we should have seen that on average baby boys weigh a little bit more than baby girls, even for 0 to 12 months. We should have seen that. The difference isn't huge, but it's consistent. Every single month, the average was higher for the boys than for the girls. So that's kind of interesting. That's something that appeared in the data. Perhaps if we had, instead of separating the babies by gender, we separated them by race or ethnicity, maybe we would not have found a difference. Do I don't know, Hispanic babies have a different weight than non-Hispanic babies or something like that. Maybe there is a difference, maybe not, okay? And even if you explore something and there turns out to be no difference, as long as it's like a reasonable thing to think about and include, then you should include it, right? So that's that. And of course, there's all sorts of ways to explore things. These were just kind of suggestions. You have side-by-side bar charts and two-way tables if you're looking at relationships between categorical variables, and then scatter plots if you're looking at relationships between numeric variables. And then if you've got numeric and categorical, you can look at side-by-side box plots or side-by-side histograms or whatever else you can think of to display. Okay, and so this is like 90 points. So this is like 45% of your technical report grade. Okay, are there any questions on this part? No. I would say, if your data needs to be cleaned up, that should go into this exploration part, okay? And so depending on where you're getting your data might have a bunch of missing values. It might have some outliers, and so there should be a discussion there, okay? If if I notice there's like outliers in your thing and you don't address it at all, I would say you would lose some points there. Okay, so if there's anytime you see outliers in your data, you should at least look into like what is it. Maybe it's a legitimate data point that should be included in the analysis. Maybe not. Maybe you're not sure, and it should be addressed. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Are there like page limits or something?
There's no page limit. Yeah. So for the technical report, there's no maximum. Okay. Everything that you do produce something should be accompanied with some text to explain it, and it doesn't. I don't want you guys to just like copy and paste your paragraph and just say like, we're looking, put a little thought into these things. But that's what we have. Okay. But yeah, no page limit for the technical report. Okay. And then the last part will be data modeling. Okay. So after you do your exploratory data analysis, maybe in your exploratory data analysis, you come across some kind of relationship that appears interesting. Maybe you now want to model what are the factors that go into determining a baby's weight or something, right? Can we create some kind of model? And in that case, maybe you have a multiple linear regression where age is a factor, gender of the baby is a factor, I don't know, other things are a factor, right? And you create some kind of model. As far as the data modeling goes, I would say there are generally two different approaches, and you can do them both. Okay, one is for insight, and I would say these are kind of your simpler, easier to understand models, such as multiple linear regression, or even like a generalized additive model, or something, where in that case, you get a coefficient and you get the variable, and it's something like as if X is the age in months, you can say as X goes up by 1, the average weight of the baby goes up by, I don't know, half a kilogram or something like that, right? And to us, the insight provided there is on average, babies gain about half a kilogram of weight for every month they're alive. Okay, I completely made that up, but that's kind of the insight that we would gain. Okay. On the other hand, another approach for data modeling is, I don't actually care the insights to draw and the interpretations, but I just want to see if I can make good predictions, right? And so these are going to be kind of like if you did a neural network, okay? We don't have interpretations for the weight matrices, the coefficients that exist in the weight matrices. It's just a crazy mess, going from a bunch of input neurons to hidden levels and output stuff. We don't have any kind of insight we can draw, but it has good predictive power. We can say, if we put in this thing, can we predict which number? We predict 5, and we hope that's correct. So if you're going to do something for predictive purposes, then what you need to do is make sure you split it into training and testing data, and then train it on the training, and then test your model on the testing data. Okay, and I would say you probably within your training data, you probably want to do cross-validation, split it into like a training and a validation set and things like that, to kind of make sure you're not overfitting. And there's different metrics that we would use in the training and testing scenarios. Okay, so it's a little bit different. And then maybe you do both. Okay, you have something for you could do the linear regression and split it up into training and testing, and see how good your predictions are versus, and then also have what kind of insights you can draw from the model. That's all in there, okay? But not all of our models are set up for gaining insight, okay? Some of them are purely for predictive purposes, and that's fine. Just make sure you explain that in there, okay? And then that's it for the technical report. So you've got description of the data, exploratory data analysis, and data modeling, okay? So the exploratory data analysis definitely weighted the most, and then the data modeling is weighted only just a tiny bit more than the description of the data, okay? So the description of the data is also very important. Okay. Questions on the written report? And it'll all be done in Jupyter, and then you'll publish it to your GitHub thing, and I'll read the report on GitHub, okay? To kind of just see there. Okay, and then the other part, the other half, is your slide and video presentation, okay? So this part will be, is aimed at, I don't know, general audience, so your management team, someone who doesn't exactly have the same stats knowledge or whatnot, and who doesn't want to, honestly doesn't want to spend a whole lot of time either, okay? So the video should be about 5 minutes in length, okay? I'll let you go up to 6.5 minutes, but any longer than that, and then it'll be poo-pooed, okay? So you want to, don't put code into here, and this is kind of just your bullet point takeaways, okay? Clarity, so, in the business world, clarity, concision, and content. I would say these are kind of your big key things. Someone gave me the rule of thumb that concision means 30 words or less per slide, okay, which is a difficult task to do, okay, because I won't hold you guys to that, but basically you don't want to have a wall of text on your slides, okay? You want what appears on the slide should just be like, this is the big idea that I'm trying to communicate to you, who's gonna make decisions based on my 5-minute presentation, and it seems crazy, but that's kind of how things go, right? Imagine someone with a shorter attention span. You need to give them the thing, okay? I don't want you to think I have a bad opinion of management or something, but generally the people in upper management are juggling like 50 different things, and so even though you are in one department and you've spent like weeks on a certain thing, you have to figure out what is the big point that I want to be communicated within a 5-minute window, okay? Because the person up at the top making decisions doesn't have the time or patience to fully investigate everything across the 50 different projects they're managing. So you want to boil it down, okay? So clarity, make sure it's clear for someone who doesn't have deep technical knowledge, okay? You want to avoid any unnecessary information, but you also still need to accurately summarize the important content from your larger report, okay? And in your larger report, during your exploratory data analysis, you might have many pages, many things, okay? Obviously, you're not going to be able to fit all of that, and nor should you try. You should basically boil it down to what is the important bit that I'm trying to communicate, and just focus on that, okay? It says, I would say between 2 to 5 slides, probably fewer is more impactful, or I shouldn't say is definitely, but could be more impactful, okay? And then and then you'll just make a video to kind of go along with that, providing the audio there. Okay, so the videos I have here will be graded on clarity, concision, and content, same as how the slides are graded, plus professionalism. Okay, professionalism just means that it looks like you practiced the video. Okay, I don't want to see somebody like stumbling and struggling in the thing. You don't have to be like professional speaker or anything like that, but it should appear, at least rehearsed. Okay. When you record it, do it in a setting that's not going to have a ton of distracting elements. So try to avoid too much background noise. And I know that can be hard depending on where you live and whatnot, but tell your roommates to be quiet for the half hour that you're trying to get recorded or something. So that's what you have. Okay. It doesn't need to have, I know when people make videos, sometimes they go all out. Okay. You don't need to do that. All right. Like, not everybody has video skills. I certainly don't. So you don't have to do anything crazy. Okay. If it's, and I sincerely mean this, if it's somebody who's sitting next to their laptop presentation and they're just going through the slides, but they're clearly explaining what it is that they want to communicate, and it's just shot on your little iPhone, that's totally adequate. That's totally fine. Okay, because you can still communicate exactly what you need to in that time slot. Okay, and if you mess up a little bit and you want to cut together pieces, that's totally fine too. It doesn't have to be a perfect one take type of thing. So, okay, and then this, I guess I have to, I'll put instructions, but you'll put your slides as either a PDF or PowerPoint up on GitHub, and then you'll put your video somewhere on YouTube, and you can make it public or unlisted, however you want. And then give me the link, and I'll watch all of your video presentations, and we'll evaluate the TA and I. So, are there any questions on any part? The slides, the video, I was thinking. I was originally going to do end of 10th week, but I can push it to like Monday of 11th week, Tuesday of 11th week. That'll be good. All right, so we'll do Tuesday of 11th week. We'll make everything due Tuesday of 11th week, 6 p.m. That's like my favorite deadline time. Okay, and then and I guess Tuesday night I'll just be watching everybody's videos.
What a Tuesday.
Huh?
What a Tuesday.
I know, exciting times. Okay. And then you'll be all graduated by Friday and Saturday. You're shaking your head.
It's crazy. Yeah.
It's crazy, yeah, I know. So, yeah. I mean, so I'm hoping this will be. One thing is that for the slide and video presentation, you can assume the people watching the video has a baseline familiarity with your data. So you don't have to spend a whole bunch of time explaining each variable. You can just say like, these are the variables we're looking at or something. Okay. Think of if, I don't know, like if you were going to make a presentation for your parents or something to kind of summarize what you did. Of course, everybody's parents are different, but you want to be able. It should be something accessible to a general audience for the video presentation. Okay. Any other questions? I hope the project is a little bit fun, or at least kind of interesting. I hope you guys found data sets that were of interest to you or your team, and you'll do something. Yes.
Did we need to upload our data sets anywhere?
No. Yeah, I know I was supposed to set up a checkpoint, but I never did. But I'm assuming you guys have done that. Yeah, okay, by this point. So definitely, yeah, we'll collect everything by 11th week. And yeah, 11th week Tuesday. So we'll make everything due 11th week Tuesday. I'll put that in there. And I'll have places for you to kind of submit your stuff. Well, basically, you've given me your GitHub links, so I'll check through that, and then I guess I'll have a place where you'll enter your YouTube links, and then everything else should be at the GitHub link that you've created, and then you'll give me the YouTube link. Good. Okay. All right. So we'll say project final deadline will be Tuesday, 6 p.m. of week 11. So what is that? June 12? Here, wait. I'm gonna just.
You don't trust me?
I trust you, and I don't want to actually open my personal calendar up on. Not that I have anything. Yeah, June 12th. And then commencement is on the 15th and 16th. So, okay. All right. Okay. We had questions about, here, I'm going to go ahead and stop this video. But